It's July 11th, and thank you for tuning in to the Driving Forward podcast. Whether you're joining us live or listening on one of our 18 platforms, including Wreaths Across America Radio, where we broadcast every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. We appreciate your support. Throughout the show, we invite you to share your comments and questions at any time. Your engagement fuels our discussion and helps us navigate the world of transportation and logistics together. I took a slightly extended vacation over the 4th of July. For those of you in the U.S. celebrating U.S. Independence Day, I hope you all had a great 4th of July week. I dodged a lot of rain myself, but we had a great time with family on the boat, fishing, swimming, and messing around with jet skis. We grilled out, we enjoyed fireworks, and we had our fair share of delicious beverages as well. We are happy to announce that we'll be launching soon another podcast. Actually, and I have a picture this time of it. It's another freight podcast. This is associated with freight movement, and we're happy to be launching it. I also have the intro here as well, or one of the potential intros, but I liked it so much that I wanted to run it as a demo. I might get yelled at by the people that put it together, but here is the breaking demo for the upcoming another freight podcast intro. So keep your eyes open for that soon. Hopefully we'll be seeing some content out there. I know a couple episodes have been recorded, and we'll be seeing that out soon. But once again, that's largely in association with freight movement, and it's allowing us to take driving forward in a different direction, which I'm excited about as well. Next week, I'm excited to return to normal programming. I'll have a few special guests on from Calhoun Truck Lines. Calhoun Truck Lines is an intermodal trucking company based out of Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and has serviced the Midwest since 1998. They have operations in Minneapolis, Omaha, Kansas City, Chicago, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Columbus, and Savannah, Georgia. Wayne Anderson and Brent Boys will be joining us. Brent Boys is the president at Calhoun Truck Lines, and Wayne Anderson is a driver that will be attending the National Truck Driving Championships in Indianapolis, August 21st. And I'm excited to chat about the NTDC event with Wayne and Brent and all things associated with this. So tune in next week, Thursday. That'll be Thursday, July 18th at 1 p.m. Central Time to chat live. We'll be back to live events then, July 18th at 1 p.m. Central Time. This week, our team has put together something special, and I just love this event, or this compilation that they put together. We're once again traveling through our past and pulling some clips from previous episodes. When I looked at our promo card for this week, I was a little humbled. Some people on the list I didn't know very well in the not so recent past, and I now consider them friends, or at least I consider them beyond an acquaintance. When I began the journey with driving forward, it was for an entirely different reason than meeting and developing relationships with people. But that's been a wonderful byproduct of it that I am very grateful for. Some of the other people on this episode I have known for years, and I'm always happy to be associated with them, and it's exciting to have them on it as well. But just knowing and seeing who's on here and how that these relationships have really grown in the last year or less is wonderful. So this episode is titled Navigating Challenges in Trucking. Navigating Challenges in Trucking, Shippers, Drivers, and Building for the Future. Largely, I'm just running it as Navigating Challenges. We begin talking about network optimization and moving into a discussion about Safe Driver Apprenticeship Pilot Program, which is a huge mouthful. And even the acronym is a huge mouthful, but that's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And so is the driver shortage. Or watch the episode to find out my opinion on the driver shortage. We then chat about a major railroad problem with truck parking and what the Truck Parking Club continues to help solve in their very unique way. Evan Shelley's company, when I spoke with Evan, that was back in February. That seems like a lifetime ago, and I know Evan so much better now today than what I did back in February. And I've now known Evan for a year. I met him at the Iowa Jamboree last year this time. So we continue the episode chatting about how trucking is America's backbone. We discussed in some depth the ATA's Nothing Without Trucking initiative, and we wrap up the episode chatting about building a better future through relationships and innovation. And what's cool is when we began this compilation, I mentioned to the team to take Attree's top 10 and grab a few great conversations we've had over the last month or year, last few months or over the last year, and put those together targeting some of Attree's top 10 topics. So once again, a huge thank you to the team for putting this episode together. It's great subject matter, and to put it out there and watch it to have without having to put it out there as an entire episode. So taking the snippets of various, and these are longer snippets. They're not just 1 or 2 minutes long that you'll see from us. Usually these are long conversations, but they're the important topics. They're great subject matter discussions that we have around major industry topics right now. And they are in that Attree top 10. Almost everything that's listed is in the industry top 10, I suppose, with the exception of how we close it out. Without further ado, here's Season 2, Episode 30 of Driving Forward Podcast, Navigating Challenges in Trucking. You had said, you brought up an article, and I actually had already tapped on it too today. An article written by Todd Maiden from FreightWaves, where he largely quoted Derek Leathers, who's the chairman and CEO of Werner. Derek had mentioned that the truckload industry downturn is closer to the end than the beginning. And if anyone wants to see, just look up or read this, just look it up on FreightWaves. It's on it should be one of the top articles right now. If not, just search Werner Enterprises sees better days ahead. And the article, largely he's stating that, they're seeing things better than a year ago. But it's still a fight every day. But it's a turn for the better than what it's been. And I'm making a synopsis of probably a page to 2 page long article. But Kyle, did you want to add more to that synopsis before I start asking questions?
Well, the one thing that's fantastic about Mr. Weathers, and I've only met him once and I've heard him probably 5, 6 times, he's a no BS guy, or as much as you
Right.
can be leading a publicly traded company. And I track 4 or 5 of them, and Martin and Swift and Heartland, I think, are the 4 that I often read their news. And the reality is he makes some incredibly uh, bold statements in there, about cost savings. 2/3 of them are going to be tangible and static for forever, which is great. I mean, we're all trying to do that. I was deeply surprised to read that his OTR division is 10% spot.
Right.
That was interesting to me. So the fact that they would allow that to go to spot is he truly believes there's a better day ahead. And the eroding irregular route long haul continues. I mean, they talk about theirs, and they talk about incremental gains, which I found interesting. 5 to 10% rate increase equals a 300 basis point margin. Not often do you get somebody to tip their hand that clearly like he did, but their truckload division is what it is. I believe Martin was 100% in their truckload side in the first quarter. Our friends at Heartland's 105, and Knight is almost in the same category. So, I mean, better days ahead. That those companies are going to operate at a near zero margin for long. And so, my friends that are struggling, I point to those type things, going, it has to change.
Well, I agree. And the better days ahead, I think we've been 2 years in, and I'm not running trucks for the asterisks here. I haven't run trucks in a while, but I'm deep into it. And this is what I do all day long, is talk about this. So,
Yep.
So largely, we're 2 years into a down market, and it is likely that this statement is true because, no matter how you look at this, no matter how you parse this apart, it's not a demand problem. We have plenty of freight in the industry. We just have too many trucks.
We do. Yep,
And
there's no question.
those trucks have
we drove trucks into it because we needed it during COVID, and here we are. And the movie The Perfect Storm is a great one. It feels like you're in the eye, right? It's that nice calm, right? But it's going to be fun here, and frankly, many of us good operators have taken care of a lot of things to get us to a point that we're not worried about the next 90 or 120 or 180 days. But there's a lot of people who are.
Right.
So this whole transformation of the industry looks different because of COVID. Now you're in the post-COVID, and now you're going to go into the next term. And not all the things that some of us have done in the last 12 to 18 months have been fun, but we've done it to make sure that here we are. We're going to see the other side of this. And I thought we maybe go into industry. You'd find this fun. The spring of 2024 for us. Now we're a blended LTL truckload, so I don't know that we're a great measurement for the rest. Versus the spring of 2021, we're 17% more efficient. We're 1% up on rate.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you know how much my costs have gone up since 2021 to 2024? I mean,
30%, 20 to 30%. Yeah.
So I'm 17% more efficient, and I'm 1% ahead on rate.
Yeah.
But
what I think it comes down to is efficient operating. So don't run in lanes that you shouldn't operate in. Have an effective sales team. Have the customers in the right place and the freight in the right place.
Yep.
Deadhead isn't always a bad thing. So run the right location.
Good deadhead and bad deadhead. There's no question about it.
You run Florida, you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So,
yep.
So that and I don't know. Do you still run Texas or?
We do a little bit, not
Yeah.
as much as we used to, but we, being that my Florida division is deeply involved in produce, it does
Yeah, fair
require
enough.
me to go there. So
Yeah,
yes,
that's the king of deadhead. So
yes,
between Florida and Colorado. So,
yep. Gotta go
but
past the top down there. But yes, but if you're chasing quality freight, rather, where the people get into trouble is they're losing the quality freight, and then they're not reassessing their network to understand exactly why they're doing what they're doing. You know, the data is cheap today, and the people to analyze them are not that expensive.
right,
That you go, what do you mean my truck just went 3 backhauls to each other and never had a head haul? That
right.
happens,
Well, I mean, they may not even be that cheap, but running 250 trucks in a poor manner is very expensive. So,
and quick.
uh,
The magnitude of your mistakes go up, and I get added zeros to it really quickly. And for a plow boy like myself, I don't know that that's always a good thing.
I think what a lot of people don't look at is their freight network close enough. So, and and there's a couple great companies out there that can teach you on how to analyze that freight network. There's a few individuals out there as well. I'm definitely from a school of one of those companies that teach it, but it doesn't matter how you learn it. If you're a mid to small company, understand that definitely get on someone's school. So you need to understand.
One of us, right? We'll tell you who we use, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So feel free to reach out and we'll point you. We have a partner in that space, so we're happy to point you to them. But if you don't understand freight networks, reach out.
We want to make sure whoever paid for this podcast is the one we mentioned, not the.
Nobody does. I don't take sponsors, so
okay, there we go.
This is all GLCS. So
it's indirect, Nate. It's indirect. But on the serious side, when you get into data, here's the things: find a source that you can trust. Because when you get into data, and I'm an analytical mind, so it comes easy to me, but I work with my team that it doesn't. You want to quickly eliminate this discussion. Here's my worst lane analytically. What's the first thing you get from a relationship-based CSR, sales guy, anything? Well, they're a great customer. Yeah. But paying the damn bills, So you want a data set that you can trust to the matter, that you can look at the CSR and go, listen, they are good people, but they stink. And then also you need to get to the data set that you understand why they are where they are. So many times in my network, it's because I used to have a backhaul that no longer exists. So now I'm putting it there, and now I'm in the backhaul market, and the round stinks, and it makes that one look terrible. And the moment you can put those pieces together to the point that you actually just let the data speak for itself, now all of a sudden you can make honest calculations, and you can walk into a really good customer and go, listen, 95% of your business, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's talk about this 5% for a little bit.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with those conversations. The traffic managers hate talking about analytics because they think it means rate increase. That's not always the case. You just want to find the best freight that you can be the most competitive on, and that both can win. And then the market won't exactly nip you no matter where you're at in it.
No, I agree. I got a piece of advice early on in my career from one of my mentors who said, if you need a calculator to figure it out, you probably shouldn't do it. And I don't know if that applies today, because that goes back to where we were all tracking probably 30 data points. But it does apply. I use that statement all the time today, which is just simply, if I have to sit down and really analyze something to figure out if it's profitable, there's a question there. But if I can sit down and go, this makes money, if I can sit down and just put, of course I'm an analytical person, so I'm gonna look at it very deeply. But if I can just do fast math and say this makes a lot of sense, That's what you need to do more of. Those are the positive things that your business needs to do. Now you want to aggregate all this data. You have lots of trucks, you have everything, but when you can say, this one lane is going to perform well, and we're going to connect it this way, let's do a lot more of that.
One of my customers actually just took effect this week, both dedicated and long haul. I lost the long haul business on a 2-year contract, and I asked for a flat rate. I didn't want to even give them a flat rate for a 2-year contract. And it was a significant size business. And now this week I got the dedicated side. So I asked my driver, who the heck's in there? So I know who it is, and we both know who it is. Well, you don't know who it is, but I know you know who it is.
Sure, fair enough.
And I go, dear Lord, you and I would put that person on a top shelf thing. They beat my rate, and they were willing to sign it for 2 years. I mean, the craziness of what we're seeing in that marketplace. I'm forever blessed. I went on a Christmas tour where I got to see 5 of my top 7 customers, and my only message was I bought them dinner and I said thank you. I walked in without a portfolio, without a tablet, without a pen, and the reality is those customers and those in my network know who they are. They've been willing to take the extremes out of the marketplace, but I've received 3 letters this week. Thanks for bidding, but you're not a carrier. I mean, who in the right mind, if I would be in that boat and running their division, I'd be spreading out my eggs really, really hard right about now to try to figure out, because while I'm incredibly confident I'm on the other side of this rainbow, I'm fairly confident we're all not. So
right.
It's just a crazy market. 28 years, I've never seen anything like this. Here's the honest reality. I mean, if it gets worse, all they're going to do is add fuel to the volatility of the market.
Right.
And I'm one of the very few guys in my chair on record saying, when we were going through COVID, I don't like this, and we're going to pay for this.
Yeah.
And frankly, there are quite a few of my customers, I never even went and played fool's gold with them, just simply because I didn't want to. Now, I'm only batting about 75% that they repaid that in advance, but I am very thankful for the 75%.
Yeah, that's a pretty good average. So that I'll take those odds. So
you get what you say, and here you as a technology guy maybe love this, but the more transparency you add to this market, you would think that it would make it less volatile, but it's done the exact opposite. It's made it more volatile. Every traffic manager's boss grabs the benchmark and says, beat it.
Right.
It doesn't matter that their freight's any worse than the rest of the benchmark. They just go beat it.
I think right now we're experiencing that. I think what's going to happen with this new freight tech that's coming out, we're just seeing cycles of it now. So you're getting the green screens of the world. You're getting new products that are now creating visibility to pricing. And as you create visibility to pricing, and it becomes normalized to have these pricing swings. So now your high-low buy is now known by the people who are buying and selling.
Yep.
So over time, and it may take a little while, might take 4, 5, 6 years, but that's going to actually normalize that pricing. So people aren't going to be expecting things that are variable as much anymore. So this may change something down the road for those that adopt that type of technology, especially as it advances. Anytime, you see it in the stock market, it becomes very predictable, and freight starting to adopt that as well. It's very predictable. It'll create lower highs and higher lows potentially, or at least faster peaks and faster valleys. So we won't have, the cycles will happen faster. So
you're going to have more and more people that are, based on what you've already said, spot and contract are going to blur. Nobody's going to want to issue paper, and add forward the fact that there's people trying to bring a futures market to the market. All them things, And really all that does is makes a bean counter like me go, well, I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to be able to have as much to do with my revenue as I want to. I'm going to go focus on my expenses, make sure I'm the low cost
Bingo.
carrier. And I don't know that that's fantastic, but that's going to be, so in trucking, you're going to try to harvest the peaks and not lose in the valleys.
Let's roll into the SDAP program. So, Safe Driver Apprenticeship Pilot Program. Now Garner Trucking is actually participating in this program as well, correct?
Absolutely. It really, again, kind of rounds out to what I was trying to communicate. And you said eloquently, from the age of 18 to 21, that individual is an opportunity. Again, not everybody wants to go to a 4-year college. Not everyone has the aptitude, the want, or the desire, or the finances. So what happens with those folks? They end up going to places for valid careers, great careers like the military, working in several different service industries. Could be warehousing, all of these
Right.
different places that they can go. But the one place they can't go is trucking, at least not in the capacity of being able to drive a tractor trailer. And I think we, as an industry, really lose out on that individual from the ages of 18 to 21 for that reason. And so then this career, as far as trucking and getting your CDL, becomes a secondary option instead of a primary one.
No, I agree. I've said it for many years on this as well, that very rarely do you see a driver anymore. I think if you roll back to when potentially we entered the industry, we're in or around the same age is my guess. But when we entered the industry, there was people that we were involved with from a driver perspective that did grow up saying, I want to be a driver. And they entered the industry that way. There's very few people today that say that, if at all any. And you look at it from that perspective of no one's wanting to become a professional driver today. No one wants to go down that road. It's largely a that second career that it's being used for right now, not the primary. And there is no possibility, or very little possibility today, for it to be a primary career.
Yeah, at least straight out of high school. Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think that's where, as an industry, we need to do a better job. So I'm thankful to have a program like this one that I can get behind that, and we can do something about that. We are one of 34 carriers throughout the United States that's actually supporting this program from the standpoint of actually doing something with it. And out of the 13 or 14 that have graduated or are a part of the program, we actually have 3 of them. We're a mom and pop carrier from Northwest Ohio. We don't have thousands of trucks out on the road, but we have a firm belief that we can train the right individual if they're selected properly, that is passionate about the industry, that is willing to put in the hard work that each one of our drivers do every day. We have the ability and the wherewithal and the knowledge on how to train those individuals and get them started on the right foot. And we've been pretty successful with it. So, I mean, my plight, it would be for other carriers to start taking a look at this program. Let's get involved, because this does solve whatever driver shortage, depending on what side of the fence you fall on, who you talk to. That it's an inevitability, because whether we have one today or not, we have a mass exodus that's happening in the industry.
So what has your experience been with that training program? What does that look like?
So again, setting the stage, you've got to have the right equipment. I do know that recently they kind of waived the rule for the inward facing camera in the trucks to be compliant. And it was a barrier for some carriers. I kind of have a different feel. Like you don't want to have just 75% of the view. You want 100% of the view. So we do have both the inward and outward cameras in the trucks, and we'll continue to have those. So that piece, I think maybe one of the most important parts, but the safety equipment that's inside there, as far as adaptive cruise control, and some of the things aren't even required, but disc brakes and those types of things are, I think, all important features that we should be giving to those drivers. Let's set the stage and set them up properly to succeed. I think just as important, and I kind of alluded to this a little bit, is the individual that's going to take on the mentorship and the training of an 18 to 20-year-old driver. I'm 52 years old. I don't know that necessarily I can relate to an 18 to 20-year-old behind the wheel of a tractor trailer for to complete the necessary hours and those types of things. So you have to have special individuals that are willing, not only willing, but able to do that, and know that there's going to be some success there. We are pretty fortunate. We've had a training program, a regular finishing program for a number of years. I'm a product of that finishing program back in the late 90s. And we've continued to grow and develop that. And this is just kind of the next leg in that. The next development is taking a look at a much longer training program for that driver that needs help from 18 to 20 to be able to finish out that training in the proper manner and proper way. But I think those are kind of the key components with it. Obviously, time is the easy part, right? Everything gets better with time. Anything you do gets better with time. So I think the important components is having them set up for success with the right equipment and the right drivers in the right space, and a constant flow of communication so that we know what's going on. I would not fib to you at all. We had 2 others that were in the program, and they didn't make it. They didn't cut the mustard. And that's up to our trainers to be frank and honest with themselves and the individual to say, okay, this isn't going to work, and here are the reasons why. Give someone an opportunity to grow and change if they can, but if they can't, we want successful drivers. But I'd handle a driver at 45 years of age that's just learning how to
gonna pass. That's
Right.
I mean, you're gonna have a substantial failure rate, actually.
That's when I found out about truck parking. This is 2021. I figured out after talking with brokers and other investors that there was a significant issue with truck parking because there wasn't enough of it, and the demand continued to increase. And that sparked really a journey in 2021 where I had that piece of industrial property. The assumption was I could put truck parking on it. I figured out from the municipality that they would not support truck parking, even though it was zoned industrial. And that's where I got super interested in the space. It's like, what is going on here? If there's not enough, I mean, it's supply demand imbalance, which then results, in significant, burden on the driver because the cost goes up, right? It's just classic macroeconomic.
You and Chris Thomas were out for 8 days, and that was your first time out over the road with someone, or was it not?
Yeah, that was the first time out over the road. Yeah, and we kind of just came up with the idea. I think it might have actually been on like a live show. We were just hanging out talking, I think Logistics Lounge or something, and he starts talking about it, and I was like, well, if you can get a load out to Manifest, I'll cover your ticket. And I didn't expect him to actually do it, but I'm happy. I'm so happy he did.
Right.
But I didn't expect him. I figured he'd be like, it'd be one of those things where it's like, yeah, we'll see, and then just nothing ever comes of it. But he texted me like the next day. He's like, man, I found a load, and so it was amazing. So he comes out, and like I'm like, that's awesome. And then he's like, do you want to just hop in the truck? This was like the week before or something. I was like, sure, let's just. And when I got in the truck with him, we had no determined, like, I didn't have a set day that I was going to leave. It was just like, let's just see what happens
Let's
here.
just
And it
go.
kind of, yeah, and it just kind of fell into place. It ended up being 8 days. And I had to go to the Natso show. So it was great. And he's a world-class guy. He really is.
Absolutely. You know, circling back on your trip with Chris, what were kind of your major takeaways from that 8 day trip?
Yeah, I would say one of the most interesting things that came out of it was, I made a post about this the other day. One night we genuinely got to a point where we're like, ooh, I don't know if we're gonna find any, safe, suitable, parking for us. And it became an odd thing where we didn't have any locations within a few hours. We're right off of I-80 at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And Chris was like, I could see he was looking. I thought that's what he was doing, looking for parking, but he didn't say anything to me. And he was kind of looking around, like behind, like we were going down this highway just off of I-80, and he was looking around. He didn't say what he was doing, but I could see him looking like behind restaurants and stuff. And he found just like this little honey hole with a couple other trucks parked there, that wasn't a formal truck parking location, but it didn't say no truck parking or anything, and it felt relatively safe. But we went up to the Sap Brothers, and he was fueling up, and he goes, if there isn't parking right back there behind that restaurant over there, we're gonna be in a weird spot, because he's like, everything is full. And I was like, yikes. Doing everything we can, Googling, and just, I was looking around, and I was like, wow, this is weird. And ultimately, there was like one or two spots behind that, like mom and pop restaurant, and we got parked, and it was absolutely fine. There wasn't any issues, but I was just like, wow, this is wild.
You know, the comments here, 80% of US communities rely exclusively on trucking to receive their goods. So that means you don't get your stuff, you don't get anything without trucks.
Yeah.
We experienced that over COVID. How many times did the shelves not get stocked? So, Ed, I guess asking you, how does nothing without trucking, how does that statement and kind of what I opened with and these ideas, how does that kind of resonate?
Well, Nate, it's my second favorite ATA tagline ever. The first being, "Good stuff, trucks bring it," which I think that was an old one, but this is great. I think it's a great campaign. This is the kind of advocacy we need. There was certainly a burst of we love truckers during the pandemic, and people were enthralled with truckers and thank a trucker and get them
Right.
a donut or get them and that disappeared real quickly, didn't it? Kind of like the term shipper of choice. We don't hear that one right now.
Right.
Either.
Right.
So I think this is great. It's fantastic. It's true. Our economy would be nothing without trucking. This is a good one.
Yeah, I like this one. It resonates with me a lot. There's been a huge uptick in public acceptance of trucking. So, and I would say that's public acceptance of drivers more than just the trucking side. I think that's something that needs to be focused on, is that this is a driver centric statement. And I think there's been something around the lines of America's nothing without trucking. And to really state that is, 80% of communities don't get their goods shipped to them. So
Yeah.
without trucks there. And I don't know what the other 20% are. I mean, I don't know how you get the other 20% of goods to the stores without trucks. So, I mean, maybe 5%, but I'm curious on a full community, not I suppose 100%, 80% of the community is being 100% reliant upon that. So
Yeah.
um,
That's how I took it. That's how
yeah. So
I remember I had a conversation not that long ago with an extended family member talking about how annoying all the trucks on the road are, and why are there you're in trucking, why are there so many trucks on the road?
we have to take this message to the American public and say, listen, we are the backbone of America. You take us out, and within a few days, you're not operating. So your life becomes miserable in a few days. And that it gets very ugly very quickly when trucking stops.
Well, I'll tell you that I am excited about it. I think it's good. I think our industry, the more we can get country music songs made that portray the industry in a good light and talk about drivers out there. I mean, country song about like a highway angel would be awesome.
Oh yeah, that would be completely awesome. So
yeah, a good movie about trucking. We're overdue.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, only horror movies at this point have been about trucking.
Yeah.
So I haven't think,
problem.
Smokey and the Bandit is kind of the last good one that comes to mind. I can't think of another good one. So
yeah, it's been too long. We're due.
The ATA's new initiative, Nothing Without Trucking. Nothing Without Trucking. Americans purchase products every day in stores and online, expecting them to be available or show up on doorsteps the next morning. We carry a quiet confidence that can get what we want precisely when we want it. It's all because a truck made it happen. Trucking has always been America's backbone, but remember, it has come a long way. Like many successful industries, the trucking industry has evolved and embraced the values important to Americans, like safety, innovations, and environmental responsibility. There are countless real human stories of those who sacrifice their time for our comfort. Whether it's the holidays or the middle of the night, truckers guarantee when we get what we need. The men and women who work in the trucking industry are the unsung heroes who keep the heart of America beating strong. Nothing Without Trucking tells the story of trucking, an essential industry for America's growth and key players in innovation. I've spent my 28-year career in trucking. I'm intertwined to this industry in a way that can't be undone. I started in the industry before I was an OTR driver, but I recall being a 21-year-old starry-eyed driver with a lot of thoughts and plans. 28 years later, I've accomplished so many different things, from being a trucking company owner, driving nearly 1 million miles. I don't know how many miles, but a lot of miles. Owning a technology company, managing divisions of technology companies, things I couldn't have possibly imagined when I was 21 years old, lining up my truck, driving away by myself for the first time, picking up a load of steel case furniture going to Manhattan. My name's Nate Johnson, and I am nothing without trucking. That you wanted to kind of launch with today. So
yeah,
let's start there.
Yeah. Relationships they're so crucial in every arena of your life. You tapped into already with your family, your professional network, your friends. And relationships are they're not happenstance, they're not by accident. And they're things you have to work at, and they're things that truly you have to fight for. And the ones you have to fight for and make work are the ones that are worth it. And I've been very, very blessed that I've had incredible individuals, across my path that I've been able to develop relationships with present company included. And there's one individual who I actually highlighted earlier this week. He happens to be my powerlifting coach, but Sean is a great friend of mine, and his impact on my life, my family's life, on, to be fair, on the logistics industry, can really not be overstated. You know, again, he's added pounds to my total, but he's also a businessman. He runs I think 5 or 6 different businesses around Milwaukee, all types of different things, from distribution to furniture stores to he's got a printing press. He does t-shirts. So there's a bunch of different things. So and I love that about it. His business acumen is incredibly high. And so we talk and we share big ideas about what we can do and in our lives, and you know where we can go, and the cool things that we can accomplish, and that all got brought together by just our love of being stronger than the average bear. And so that's a relationship that, and there's others around the strength sports, around the professional arena, but Sean's is one that I hold near and dear, because if you look at him, we shouldn't be friends. I don't know if maybe you had the post pulled up, or I could, but
yeah, I'll grab it.
He initially, he is a terrifying man to look at. I'll just call it what it is. I mean, Sean's about my size. And for those who've never met me, you know, I'm 5'8", I'm 275 pounds. Like, I'm not a small man. So Sean is, and Sean's been up over 300 pounds at some point. But he looks rough around the edges. He's literally from head to toe. He is covered in tattoos. But he's also the biggest softie in the world. If you really get to know him, he's got a soft spot for kids and animals. And but we bonded under the bar, and we've truly, this friendship has flourished into, you know, he's one of those guys that I'll run through walls for, literally and figuratively. So
yeah, there he is there. So yeah. It makes you look small. So
he is out angling me in this picture. I do believe he weighed about 290 for this meet. And I'll give him credit, because what people, you know, in the powerlifting world kind of know, but definitely folks who don't know Sean, about 7 years ago, he fractured his C5 and C6, and he has still squatted over 900 pounds since then. He's just an absolute animal. He's actually coached 5 different all-time world record holders. My goal is I'll be the 6th, and his first guy. So I'm very excited about that. But also he's got an interesting past. He was, his 8th grade year of school, he was the #1 ranked hockey recruit in the United States. Never made it to high school because he started getting in trouble. He ended up doing 7 years in the Wisconsin State Penitentiary, 4 years in the hole by himself. So Sean's got a past, but he's also, what I love about it is that he's rebuilt.
Something that I wrote about recently was, you know, I've got a lot of people I've known for a very long time, and those are wonderful relationships, but I've kind of reflected on how fast short-term relationships can impact your life. And, you know, not to bro out, but, you know, there's a few of us, and you're included in that, you know, we've known each other a couple of years, but, you know, in a short period of time, we've become pretty close, and there's a few others that are on that list as well. But the impact of a relationship, you know, and how that can have both personally and professionally, and you know, there's two angles to look at it. Some people can apply to both. Some people can apply to singularly to your professional side or your personal side. But you know, speaking professionally at this moment, how fast someone can become influential in your life in a short period of time, and then to see that path with them for a long time after that. It's something I don't think I truly passed. And I don't know why I didn't respect it in the past. Maybe I wasn't as far or as future looking as I am now. Now I maybe it's because I'm approaching, you know, middle age, or I am middle age, but I'm approaching that 50 marker, and I'm starting to look toward, you start planning 20 years out. And when you're in your 30s, you look towards 50 and you go, I got all kinds of time. And now when you look towards your next 20 years, you go, well, there's a retirement somewhere in there, hopefully. So, but you know, how do you feel about that? You know, on these shorter term relationships. Let's say shorter term is, you know someone for less than a year, and how impactful they can be to you in that 1 year scenario, and how you feel about that relationship, past that 1 year, and how you see them incorporated in your life beyond that 1 year scenario, or beyond that 1 year period.
I think about that. I think that any person that crosses your path for, more than a single time, even the single times can be impactful, but definitely those that are around for, to your point, 6 months, a year, though it may not be a long-term connection, it's impactful on some level, because you're going to pick something up from those individuals. I think about that with some people that have worked for me in the past. Our paths crossed for a short time, but they impacted me as far as like how I lead, lessons I learned, maybe how I approach certain things in a different way to make sure that the results were different. So I take every relationship that I have personally, and I try to inventory something that is going to elevate me, because I do believe that every person I meet can make me better on some level, and I hope I'm able to do the same for them and provide value to their life. I believe, again, every relationship has that value. So the short-term ones, it's going to be smaller pieces, obviously, because again, you don't have as much time to develop certain things. But yeah, those medium and long terms, they need those 2 and those 5 and 6, 6 year plus relationships. Then you really sort of build like a lot of things from these people, and it's incredible. And stuff that sticks with you for life. But I think those 1 year relationships are still really important, because those people were put into your life at that season for a reason. I'm not meaning to start rhyming right now, but that just kind of happened. So that's an important thing to, I think, consider when someone maybe exits your life. Again, not passing away, but as they are
Right.
no longer directly part of your life. They were there in that season for a very specific reason. The universe decided you needed something, and that to me is a time to search for what was it that I learned during that time with them.
No, that's a valid point. The meaning of the interaction, right? So I think I get a lot of that now as you reflect back in life, and you look at people, you look at what you gain from them, and I look at it as mentors. Mentors in my career, people I maybe didn't identify as mentors early on in my career, but now I identify as mentors, or certainly as you assess them going backwards, that you just look at things entirely different. It's sort of the post-mortem of a relationship, I guess. So, but
Right.
We'll bring Wendy in. So maybe what'll happen. So we have Wendy. So any thoughts on kind of how I set up there is on relationships, how they've impacted you, how you look at them on a daily basis, on how do you feel they I don't know how much you picked up on earlier, so I'm pass the mic over to you.
That's okay. I just jumped in, but I think I can kind of follow where you're going. From a relationship standpoint, you think of the years. I mean, I've been in the industry 27 years, so people have come and gone in my life in the industry. Some I only see at conferences and, when you're somewhere, and then there's some that you continue to make extra effort to follow up with, because they make extra effort to follow up with you and stay in your network. So I always look at it, it's kind of a two-way street. I'm not going to chase somebody forever and ever if there's no reciprocation, and they're also working at that relationship. Then you just kind of got to move on a little bit. It's not that if you don't see them, you still network with them. It's a different level of relationship as people come and go through your career.
Yeah, I agree entirely. You get out of it what you put into it. I mean, that's always the case. I opened with a statement about connecting with others for the joy of the education and the connection itself. And I think that's something